Hi, welcome to the firing pin.
Hi there, it's Eric and Teresa with Apartment B, and Creature's just down here. Today we wanted to make a video about traveling with firearms. We've seen a lot of questions online. We don't have all the answers, but Eric's always doing research on the topic. He's been working at a shooting range for a few years here, and so he's always been interested in the subject and just wanting to educate himself. He's done a lot of research, so you always want to do your own research, obviously, when you're traveling, and make sure that you're, covered in the states and the areas that you're going in, but we just thought we'd share what we've learned along the way.
So there's, can you travel with firearms? There's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts. Like if you're talking about a pump-action shotgun, something kind of simple, or like a bolt-action rifle, most of those are legal in 50 states. But you still need to be careful of certain areas. Cities, can have different ordinances. Like New York City's got different rules in New York State. Same with Chicago. Chicago's got different rules than the rest of, Illinois. So you got to look at, if you're going towards major cities, there might be other issues too. But like a pump-action shotgun, bolt-action rifle, typically you're okay. Where you get a lot of issues is with pistols. Carrying actual pistols versus like a pump-action shotgun. There's a lot of states that requires registration for them, and that kind of a deal. Same with semi-automatic rifles. Like if you're talking about an AR-15, traveling with one of those, certain states have ordinances, certain cities have ordinances. So you need to look at that as well. Not just the state that you're going to, major cities if you're going to stay near or in major cities. So you need to look at that. For traveling through states, like some states that say have basically a ban on pistols besides, unless you have a permit and have it registered with that specific state, like New York does, or California does as well. There is a law, federal law, 926A, that allows you to travel through a state but not stay in that state. And there's a couple things with that. So say I was going from Pennsylvania, where you don't need a permit for a pistol, to Ohio, and I was cutting up through New York State. If you have it locked in a container, unloaded, and it cannot be the glove box, it has to be in the trunk. If you don't have a trunk, it needs to be a separate container besides the glove box. If it's unloaded and unlocked, you're okay to travel through, as long as it's legal for you to have it in, say, Pennsylvania and Ohio. You can travel through New York State as long as it's locked, unloaded, away from the passengers, drivers, kind of a deal. That's fine, but you can't stay in New York State. So,
stop.
Yeah, technically you're not really supposed to stop, but they're planned stops is kind of how it's written too. So it's, if you break down, there could be some issues. You want to consider that, and there might not be. There might be some leniencies. But certain states with pistols as well, or just semi-automatic rifles or anything like that that has a detachable magazine, some of those states have laws against that magazine. California, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Maryland, Connecticut, and Hawaii, you cannot own a magazine that has more than 10 rounds, that will hold more than 10 rounds. New York State, you can have 10 rounds in your magazine in Buffalo, but not over by New York City. You can only have 7 if you go like past Syracuse, which that's even kind of up in the air whether you can do that or not. Technically, you're only supposed to have 7 in a magazine in New York State. And Colorado has a limit of 15. So all the others have a limit of 10. Colorado's got a limit of 15. You can't have a magazine that holds more than those rounds. And now here's the trick with like 92 excuse me, 92 How can I not say 92.6?
92.
926A. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You got it.
So, so with code 926A, you know, it allows you to travel through those states with your firearm, but it doesn't really clarify if you can have a magazine or not that might be illegal in that state. So you need to consider that too. If you have 20-round magazines and you drive through California or New York, you know, you could be in a serious crime. New York State, I mean, it's a serious felony to have, especially if it's loaded outside of your home. It's even a higher felony charge than like if you just have it unloaded in your home. So you need to consider those factors as well. So basically, where you're traveling to, you want to look up. There's a few different websites. There's also apps you can have on your phone that'll help you with certain gun laws in each state. And just, you know, while you're going through your route, if you're carrying pistols, you really need to check that ahead of time, because they're not gonna allow the whole like, oh, I didn't know. You know, they're serious charges in a lot of these states, especially those ones with magazine bans. You want to be really careful. So if you're traveling through a state, like I said, there's that like Wikipedia page, which is very simple and it's laid out. I know a lot of people say not to trust Wikipedia, but it actually has a very clear format. And if you just put in gun laws, you know, for whatever state it is, like gun laws Colorado or gun laws Nevada, it'll actually come up, and they're all written in the same format, which is nice. There's also gunlawsbystate.com, which is very similar to, it lists each state and all the laws. And if you're looking for like a reciprocity map of where is my permit, like if I've got an Ohio permit for concealed carry, where is that, you know, where am I allowed to conceal carry in other states? That'll give you a map where you just click on your state, and then it'll show you where it's all valid. Yeah. And same too, if you want to be able to carry in more states, there's certain permits that you can get, out-of-state permits, that are allowed in other states as well. Like Utah is a very popular one, and also Florida. Florida can basically get you pretty much like 3/4 of the country for being able to carry a firearm. There's some things with the Florida permit. You need to basically take a class, a safety class, and with that class they have to be able to see you actually safely use a firearm as well. So you have to be able to, you know, kind of shoot a specific group and, you know, be able to handle it, load it and unload it, you know, in a safe manner. They want to see that. So that's all kind of part of the test for it. There isn't really like an actual like test, but it's kind of,
you have to have someone sign off on
yeah,
it,
somebody has to sign off,
yeah.
And they look at the credentials of the person signing off on it when you send that in as well.
Yeah, it can't be just anybody. So
yeah, it needs to be somebody that's like an NRA pistol instructor that actually goes through the rules and everything with you for that. So there are a lot
of ranges have classes for those things too. If you look, if you have a local range, they'll have courses, certification courses that you can take too.
Yeah, and a lot of them will offer like a Florida Utah class or just one or the other, so you can take those as well. And it's definitely a very, very good thing to have, because it gets you.
Well, you should do it anyway. I mean, you should do it anyway. Just take a course, take a couple classes, and educate yourself on safety and the logistics of everything. Yeah, and the instructor will typically go over a lot of laws too, by you know, different states and everything, as well as you're traveling. So they'll help you out a little bit with that as well. Yeah. There's also a couple apps you can get on your phone that are very similar, that actually show you the reciprocity and all the different state regulations and rules and laws for carrying a firearm as well. There's if you search for CCW, Concealed Carry Reference, or also Concealed Carry App -CCW Laws. There are two apps that I found that looked very good. I haven't downloaded one yet. I think one was free and one was a couple dollars. But basically it's all the same information that you could search for online, but in an app. So it makes it a little easier to go through and search through. So if you want to spend a couple bucks on an app versus doing, you know, the Google searches and everything, it's a little easier. Or do both, so you're referencing a couple of sources. Yeah. That's always smart. So just, you know, like I said, you know, is it legal for you to travel with firearms? It all depends on the firearm.
depends on the state, depends on the city even sometimes. So you do want to look at each state as you're traveling through it. You know, like I said, if you've got just a pump action shotgun, 99% you're going to be okay. But you still need to look at some of those laws. A lot of times when you're driving as well, like shotguns and rifles, most states, they'll have to be unloaded. But they'll have different definitions of unloaded. Like one in the pipe would be loaded, but you could still have some in the magazine, and then that's unloaded technically. Some you can't have anything in it, you know, any shotgun shells in it, and to be classified as unloaded. So you need to look at those laws too. It is kind of weird though. Most states cannot travel around with a loaded like firearm in your vehicle, or like a shotgun or rifle, but you can with a pistol if you can legally have a pistol in that state. You know, the pistol can be loaded, but a shotgun can't be, which was kind of interesting. I always thought that was weird, why you could have one and not the other. Apparently it's got to do with some hunting laws, is what I've heard.
They don't want you too heavily armed. That's what it is. I'm thinking they don't want you too heavily armed.
No. So you need to look at that too, where you're traveling, not just with, you know, a shotgun. Like a lot of people say shotgun's legal everywhere. Most of the time you're right, but not always. You know, pistols are the one you really have to be very careful of with traveling, because there's a lot of laws with that. And like I said, 926A does allow you to travel through a state, but not stay in that state. Again, as long as it's locked in a separate container besides the glove box or in the trunk, it has to be unloaded, and you have to be able to legally have it from where you left to where you're going. So, take that into consideration as well. You know, for places you're staying, if you're going to travel with firearms, you might not be able to stay in California or New York State,
or even certain campground state national parks. You know, you just have to pay attention and do the research before you go anywhere, not just traveling to a new state, but places you're going within that area.
So, and like I said, look at those websites, download the app if you want. I mean, they're very handy to have if you are traveling with firearms, you know, to look into that. You know, a lot of people just say it's fine, nobody will see it, but do you want to take that chance?
I guess that's up to you, but
you know, do you want to do 10 to 20 for having a pistol in California or New York State or, you know, Maryland, a place where you can't have it?
You can get a law degree while you're in there, and then
yeah, you could. So but that's about it for today, I think.
Yeah, we'll try and post some of the resources down below.
Yeah, we'll post them down in the description.
And I think we're going to put some video from our local shooting range.
Yes, right? If you're ever in the Rochester kind of area or near Buffalo or to Syracuse, I mean, we get people that drive from all over the place. You want to check out the Firing Pin. It's in Bergen, New York. It's right off of 490, which is one of the major highways, so it's easy to get to. But check them out. They've got rentals, classes, they buy, sell, trade. They do a little bit of everything. It's a one-stop shop.
All sorts of supplies, and they've got a retail shop too, so it's nice. Yep,
and they've got a video game thing now, video game console, so you can play games while you're waiting, you know, kind of
and
a deal.
And popcorn.
Yeah, but they don't make popcorn that often.
Well, we'll put in a suggestion and have them make more popcorn.
Yeah.
But check it out. And we'll post some of the video too.
Yep.
Or add some of the video.
Yep. So if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe.
And comment.
Yeah, and comment. Comments always help.
Or don't comment.
Yeah, it depends what you're going to comment, I guess. But like the video, subscribe. Check out our other videos as well. And we'll put some information to help you research if you can travel into states or certain states what you're going to down below, so it can help you out with that.
Safe travels.
Yeah, safe travels.
Have fun.
She complains about my snoring. The dog's
Oh,
worse.
when the both of them and the baby get going.
You can't win.